Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If I could have your attention to the stage, we appreciate you so much being here. Would like to welcome you for a night for Scott. And yes, clearly we're very, very sad tonight, but we're also celebrating his life and his legacy. You could be here in the club that is still giving us a home after about 9 years playing upstairs at the gallery. And my name is Elias, if you don't know me. And before we get started with our tribute, I'd like to take a moment and say thank you to Steve, Diane, Celeste, Kate, and Smiley, and everyone here at the Continental Club and the gallery for hosting this event tonight. We're usually upstairs. Yes. And also providing us a place to play and gather for music and community every Monday night for Church on Monday for the past, almost 9 years. We're not going to talk about last year. Yes. So Church on Monday really couldn't happen without our Continental Gallery family. I also want to give thanks to Colin Shook and Monk's Jazz for donating his time tonight to live stream our event, everyone across the world who was not able to join us in person. Thank you, Colin Shook. I'm also incredibly grateful to Elizabeth and her family that are here tonight for giving their blessing for tonight's event. Finally, we'd like to remind everybody, yes, big round of applause for Elizabeth and the family. We promised we wouldn't look at each other because we start crying immediately. But finally, I'm going to say a few words, but we'd like to remind everybody about the family's GoFundMe account, which we have displayed up here by Scott's picture. And if you'd like to give something tonight, we've got the old-fashioned tip bucket. We take 100s, 500s, and up. You right here in the bucket. And please, while you're here, the family has brought the guest book. So please do take some time. Let the family know that you've been here and say a little something, would you? So before we get started with the music, I thought I'd take a few minutes and share some stories. I'm usually pretty good about extemporaneous speaking, but tonight I knew that I would be kind of a mess, so I wrote a few words about my dear friend, Scott Laningham. So tonight we're celebrating the amazing life and wonderful legacy of a great, great man and our dear friend, Mr. Scott Laningham. I first came to know Scott way back in the early 80s when, as a young man, I got to attend a KUT Studio 1A live music event with the great Mitch Watkins, Steve Zirkle, Paul Ostermeyer, who was my saxophone player teacher at the time, and what looked to be a 16-year-old drummer who I was not familiar with at all. My folks would often take me around to hear live music in Austin, so I grew up listening to legends like Mitch, Beto and the Fairlanes, Tomas Ramirez, Kirk Whalum, and many other local greats like Tony Campisi, Bob Meyer, A.D. Mannion, the great Dr. James Polk, who's here tonight, Martin Banks, John Mills, on and on. Austin is blessed with many amazing musicians, as you know. So I was pretty familiar with the local cast of characters, even at the age of 12 or 13. And then I saw this young, squeaky clean guy with floppy curls sit down behind the drums, and I was like, who is this guy? And can he really hang with these superstars? Well, when he first played his first notes, I was in awe. And I instantly became a huge fan, and Scott was one of my musical heroes and 13 years old. So we went our separate ways. And I went off to New York, and Scott went up to ball drummer in town. And I felt so very fortunate to be able to play with him and that he would actually play with me. A few years into our musical collaborations, I hired him for this band called Church on Monday. I didn't know it was going to turn into what it turned into. I just knew Scott was the guy that needed to do that recording. And at about that time is when I first met Elizabeth. And she started to accompany Scott to all of his gigs with his cymbal bag strapped to her back everywhere she went. It was then that I started to learn more about not only what an amazing musician Scott was, but what a truly beautiful person he was. When Scott first told me he had 8 kids, I was like, what? You got to be joking. I really didn't believe him at first, and he laughed, and he flashed that famous Laningham smile. I was really blown away that somebody who played as much as Scott did, I mean, he almost played every night, had the energy to manage a family that large and then to be able to play to all hours of the morning like he did. I still can't believe it, actually. I then learned that he worked at IBM, and I shared with him that I too was a family man and that I worked a day job at Dell. I really looked up to Scott because he modeled the type of life I was also looking to lead. Family first. Although music was incredibly important to both of us, so we could maintain a good balance in our life. Music really helped both of us manage the stresses of everyday life with our families and our work. We really bonded over that. Well, I think Scott was better at this than I was. He was really good at it. In fact, I rarely saw Scott upset. And I am still amazed at the positivity he exuded everywhere he went and in every situation, no matter the circumstance. He was pure, radiant light. We will all miss him terribly. There is no doubt about that. His music, his personality, his sense of humor, his creativity, his dedication to living a more perfect life. He was truly one of a kind. Tonight we share stories and we will play music in his honor. And I know that I will always carry his legacy of compassion and kindness to all people in my heart and in my music. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here with all of you tonight. He's coming. Y'all got to still keep clapping.
In the words of Minnie Pearl from the Grand Ole Opry, howdy! See, a lot of y'all don't even know nothing about the Grand Ole Opry. But I'm telling you, I'm so proud to be here and to honor the memory of a very dear friend of mine. You know, I met Scott Laningham in 1997. I had moved back to Austin from California. I was out in California many years, traveling throughout the world with girls. Since so many people, you know, in 1997, 87. I moved back in 88 actually. So 87, 86, there was something like 1,100 people a week moving into LA. I said, let me get the hell out of here. So let me go back to Austin, Texas. So that's what I did. And I stayed here in Austin, Texas. I moved back to Austin in 1988. And it took me 10 years before my paths crossed with Scott Laningham. I was playing over at Sullivan's Restaurant in the club there, and I had a trio, Michael Stevens, myself, and Scott, I can't remember his name, don't ask me, but Scott was on, not Scott Laningham, well, another Scott was on drums. But Sullivan's had a club next door to the lounge, and there was a band playing in there one weekend, and I went in there and Scott was playing drums. I said, "Who is that drummer? Jesus, he's good." You know, I heard him. So from that day on, we developed a rapport with one another. You know, I called him my boy. He called me Pops. So, and that went on from that point on. And you know, it was until over 10 years later that I met his beautiful wife. He said, "I see why he was like he is, like he was." I met his beautiful wife, Elizabeth. Elizabeth, where are you? I know you're here somewhere. Right up front. There you are. Yeah. And fell in love all over again. So, yes, I loved both of them. And it's good to be here. Once you pass, things get different. And I'm still here. That's the reason I'm sitting down. I can't stand up. My knees too weak. But I'm still here. I'm doing, you know, God. He was just an all-around wonderful human being. And when I met him, I think he just had 6 children. He tricked me. He tricked you too, didn't he, Elizabeth? He wound up with 8 kids. That's great. And they all are lovely children, lovely people. That whole family is just beyond compare. I used to tell Elizabeth, if I were 40 years young, I'd give Scott a run for his money. but I still love her just the same. The person that I'm speaking of, Scott, he was beyond anything that you can imagine. Pure heart, pure good person. And one day we'll cross our paths again. I'm sure of that. We'll see him. I'll see all of you once again somewhere, unless you're not living pure. Because her real name is Mittenthal. I don't want to go through all of that. Sit down and menthol. So I'm just so proud to be here, like Minnie Pearl said. It's happy to be here, a wonderful occasion to commemorate the memory of our good friend, Scott Laningham. Thanks for coming by.
Dr. James Polk, everyone. Great Dr. James Polk. We got a few more folks that want to say a few things. I'd like to invite to the stage now a man who shared the stage for many gigs on Monday nights, our fellow bandmate, Mr. Tommy Howard. Tommy Howard.
Thank you guys for being here. I'll keep it brief. So those of you that don't know, I was like the newbie in the band because the original band was with Jake Langley on guitar. Great guitar player. So needless to say, I had very big shoes to fill. I was very nervous about getting called for this gig. I don't know, maybe a year after I was in the group, I'm not sure, but I was still pretty new in the group. His son was getting married, and he was like, "Hey, why don't you we're having his wedding at our house. Why don't you bring your wife and kids and come to the wedding?" You know, and I was thinking like, "Yeah, you barely even know me, you know," but yeah, I was, you know, you couldn't help but be brought in by his warmth. So I was like, "Sure, yeah, we'll come." So we came, and I brought my wife and my son and my newborn daughter. She was a baby in the little carriage at that time, and I remember we were walking back from the ceremony. They had the ceremony kind of down the street, and we were walking back to their house, and Scott comes over and whispers in my ear. He's like, "Hey, keep that kid away from my wife. We don't need any more babies around here." But anyway, I'll end it on that note.
A trio, they played frequently on Sunday nights as well as many other configurations. Great guy. Give it up for John Fremgen, everybody.
Thank you. So there's really not much more I can say about Scott that hasn't been said many times in the last few weeks. So I just want to tell you a couple of funny stories. But first, I want to thank Elizabeth and the kids for that memorial last week. The video and all of your, testimonials, it was such a gift for all of us, and I'm just so happy. I was so happy to see videos of Scott and to hear his voice, and so thank you. So I'm going to tell you guys the story about when I met Scott, and I posted this on Facebook a couple weeks ago, but I'm sure some of you haven't read it, and if those of you who have, you're probably spending too much time on Facebook. So it was whenever you guys moved back to town, mid-'90s, right? It's like 96, maybe 97, 96. So I was playing at the Elephant Room with Susie Stern, and the drummer on the gig, on that particular gig, was J.J. Johnson, who we all know is a great drummer, right? One of my favorite drummers to play with, and at the time I just loved playing with this guy. And he also had this good t-shirt. I'm pretty sure he had a fanny pack. And the single worst comb-over I've ever seen in my entire life. And he walks up on stage, and I'm like, no, wait a minute. No. And he gets this big grin, that Scott, he's like, "Hey, I'm Scott." And I was just like, "No, you're not." And then he sat down and played, and it was just the greatest. And from that moment on, we were like this, and we played a lot of gigs together, countless gigs. In fact, Polk, we were probably on that gig at Ringside when you first met Scott, probably with Tony Campisi. So that brings me to another funny story. So Scott, yeah, you all remember, some of you remember Ringside and Sullivan's before they closed. And back in the day, they would give us a couple free drinks, which at the time Scott wouldn't imbibe in, but free food. And it would be something off of the appetizer menu, so a salad or shrimp thing or something. And so, a lot of us would just have our dinner, at the gig. But Scott, he asked, the first night we played there, he goes, "Can I substitute a dessert for the appetizer?" And they're like, "Yeah." And so he looked at the dessert menu, and there was this thing called my life. So that's just how he was. I will tell you, on the road with him. So the last year, before the pandemic, he was touring with us with Christopher Cross, and it was just so much fun to be. When you're on the road like that on a bus, it's not always socially a great experience. It has to be the right chemistry with the right people, and with Scott, it really was great. And he used to get up in the morning and work for IBM all day. So we get to the venue, he'd find the Wi-Fi, and he would start working at like 9:30 in the morning until sound check at 3:30, and we were all getting up at like 12 or 1, and he never complained, except for the time where I found him in the green room, and I started taking my clothes off in front of him during one of his meetings. Then I think he didn't drink, but we convinced Scott to have a shot of tequila in New York. And he got the shot. Sean Giddings is here. He'll attest to it. Yeah, he remembers. So we ordered a round of shots for the whole band, and Scott did a shot. And I mean, I've never even seen Scott sip a beer, and he did a shot of tequila, and he got, he was like, "Yeah, I feel good." He had that yeah. So we quickly ordered another round. And he took that second shot, and his face was on the bar. He was like, "I got to go back to the hotel." So he didn't last that long that night. So, anyway, so I have a lot of these stories. I'm not going to keep telling them, but I have one more because I went on my phone the other day to see if I could find like the last text message that he sent me. And it's not the last one, but it's one of the most recent ones. So when you're out, when you're out touring, you kind of learn these quirks about the people that you're playing with. And we all have quirks. And believe it or not, I have a few quirks. So, yeah. And so Sean definitely can attest to that, right? Like I'm mortally afraid of mimes, which they found out the hard way at a gig. That's another story. But one thing that's one of my quirks, I grew up with this, and my mom always taught us, when you pass the salt or pepper at a dinner table, never separate. And she would say, never divorce the salt or pepper. So if you're going to pass the salt, you pass them both. If someone asks for this pepper, you pass them both. And these guys were merciless with me because every time we were at dinner and someone passed the salt, I'd put the pepper over there. They're like, don't divorce the salt and pepper, guys, come on. It was driving me crazy. So every time he would be at a restaurant, he would take pictures of the salt and pepper separated and send them to me. And this is like literally the third to the last text I have got from Scott. You can't really see it, but he was at a restaurant, and there's salt and pepper together next to sunshine, and salt and pepper apart next to an atomic explosion. And that's how I'm going to remember Scott.
John Fremgen, everyone. Okay, so we have a very special treat. To close our tribute, I want to introduce to you the most lovely lady in the world, Elizabeth Laningham, y'all.
I just wanted to come up and thank you all for coming. I know that Scott loved all of you. Family was not just our 8 kids. Family was all of you, and you all are his father and his brothers, and I just am so blessed that you all came, and I said something in the memorial service, so I'll say it now. There's a couple things of, right after he passed, I was like, it's not fair, he was only 61 years old. And then the idea came, the thought that he may have only been 61 years old, but he lived 3 incredible lives that were full. He was an awesome husband and father. We were together 24/7. He worked from home and I schooled. He was a great IBMer. I mean, they were doing a special thing for him just because of everything he did at IBM. He worked so hard. And he loved music. This is what kept him going. I don't know if you know that his father died when he was 14 in a plane crash, and music is what sustained him. And that's how he expressed his love to all of you and everything that he did. And even during the pandemic was a blessing to him because instead of being able to do the gigs, which he loved so much, he started creating his own music and writing and singing at home. So that's something that I cherish that we have because he wasn't able to do the gigs. And the other thing is, it completely went out of my head. I can't remember. I know, it was really the week before he died, he came and he said, we were talking in the yard, and he said, I've had 61 great years, and if I'm gone tomorrow, it's been wonderful. So I just thank you all so much for coming because it touches my heart because you all are family too for me, and so thank you so much.
Elizabeth Laningham, y'all. Scott Laningham, everyone. We love you, Scott. We love you so much. This is just amazing. I love seeing all these people here and out in the clubs again. Yes, it's just. So we're going to kick off our music now. Got a very special treat because Scott's son Nate is going to do something for you right now. So I want you to put your hands together and make Nate Laningham feel very welcome right now. Nate Laningham, everyone.
Thank you all for being here. It means a lot. Eli was very gracious to let me do a little song here. It's just the easiest way to pay homage to my dad, who was not just a great father, but was the person who introduced me to all kinds of music and sort of catapulted my interest and passion and all that. So, all right, thank you.
Till I fear I said too much. My silence is my self-defense. And this is why my eyes are closed. It's just as well for all I've seen. And so it goes, and so it goes. And so will you soon, I suppose. So if my silence made you leave, that would be my worst mistake. So I'd share this room with you. I'd have the choice were mine to make. Ta-da-ta-ta-da, oh. Ta-da-ta-ta-da, This is why my eyes are closed. It's just as well for all I've seen. And so it goes, and so it goes. And so will you soon, I suppose.
Nate Laningham, y'all. Wow, what a talented family. Thank you for that, Nate. That was beautiful. Let's get Tommy Howard up here. Tommy Howard, everybody. Get your hands together for Tommy Howard on the guitar. Ryan Hagler on the double bass, everyone. Ryan Hagler on the double bass. The great Dr. James Polk on the B3 organ. Yours truly, Elias Haslanger on the saxophone. We are Church on Monday. The first song we're going to play, we're going to leave the drum chair vacant in tribute of the great Scott Laningham. I wrote this song, a quick story. Church on Monday backed up Alejandro Escovedo for a few years. We were his band. And we played ACL Live. We did some touring. We went to New York. We did a lot of cool things. Alejandro is a beautiful cat. And I know Scott loved Al and playing with him. And I wrote this song for Alejandro. But tonight, I write it and I dedicate it to Scott Laningham because he was truly like a big brother to me. He was always there for me, even when we were fighting like brothers do. You know, it wasn't all just peaches and cream between me and Scott. We had some arguments, about the direction of the band and some other things. And I wasn't always the coolest I could have been to him. But that's all water under the bridge. We always came back to music and to love, And I love that about Scott. And so I dedicate this song that I wrote for him because he was always there for me. It's called For Being There. And this is the hat that Scott would frequently wear to our gigs, And I love this hat because it reminds me of him. It's a very, very cool hat. I love holding it right now. But I'm going to play symbolically so that we all know Scott is the drummer for Church on Monday for now and forever. Thank you, Scott, for being there. Does the organ work? It's a little low in the mix.
Spinning fast again, too.
Come on, old Bessie. Does it have the pedal, Dr. Polk? Can you crank it up for us? All right, this is for... Can you put it through the mains louder?
No, it's not coming out of the leslie yet.
Oh, it is? You might have to reboot it, Dr. Polk. You might have to fire it up again. There's a thing about these acoustic instruments. Old Bessie, we call her. She used to be upstairs at the gallery, and frequently she would just be like temperamental. She doesn't know who's playing her. Lift off. Okay, here we go. For Being There for Scott Laningham. for being there. Katrina, could I have a little organ in the front wedges, please? Thank you for being there, for Scott Laningham. That's the title track of our most recent CD, which Scott is featured on. And at this time, we'd like to bring up an incredible drummer, and he's going to play the skins for us tonight. Welcome, Mr. Daniel Dufour on the drum. Play a little bit more, Dr. Pope. Play a little bit more. Just a little bit more. I like to hear a lot of Dr. Pope. I like to hear a lot of Dr. Pope. Don't you guys? The man played with Ray Charles, after all. Not to mention Freddie King, many other luminaries, the great Dr. James Polk. All right. This one, Scott loved to play. Scott loved to play anything, man. The guys, he just loved to play music. This is on the latest CD. It's called Our Miss Brooks.
Yeah, man.
Our Miss Brooks. Dr. James Polk, everyone. Tommy Howard on the guitar. Ryan Hagler on the bass. Daniel Dufour on the drums. Yours truly, Elias Haslanger, church on Monday. Feels good to play in a club again in front of you beautiful people. Thank you so much for being here tonight for A Night for Scott. Now we have the kind of the send-off, right? The celebration, the music that Scott loves so much to do. So we want to remind you, please, we do have the donation bucket up there as well as the GoFundMe. Colin Shook, give it up again for Colin Shook, streaming tonight. For all of you around the world who couldn't be here tonight, welcome in to the stream. You can see the GoFundMe link there on the stream, so please do to give. And if you feel like it, we'd love for you to sign the guest book. Please come and sign the guest book. Next one, because it's a groove thing, and Scott really liked to get into the groove. And it's by the great Eddie Harris, and it's called Listen Here. Listen here. Thank you so much. Great Eddie Harris. Listen here. Tommy Howard on the guitar. Great Dr. James Polk on the organ. Dr. James Polk. And this great rhythm section tonight. Give it up for Mr. Daniel Dufour on the drums tonight. Daniel Dufour. Ryan Hagler on the double bass. Ryan Hagler. And I want to brag a little bit about Dr. James Polk on the B3 organ. Give it up again for Dr. James Polk. One more time on the B3 organ. Sir, I hope I can do half of what you can do after I cross the 80 yards. You know what I'm saying? This guy, look at him up here playing this crap out of the organ, man. So you ask Dr. Polk, how's he doing? He says, I'm kicking, but not high. He's got all kinds of amazing stories. Hanging out with Freddie Hubbard, Ornette Coleman, held down the house organ gig at Jimmy Smith's club in Los Angeles. Like I said, he toured with Freddie King, and he wrote and arranged many charts for the great Ray Charles, and which he was nominated for 2 Grammy Awards. He also directed the Grammy Band. You can find some YouTube videos out there with him. There's one in particular I'm really fond of where Ray Charles and Aretha Franklin are singing together at the piano, and Dr. Polk's back there conducting the band, playing piano organ. But needless to say, he's a legendary figure, not only in Austin, but across the world. We're very fortunate to have him. One more time, Dr. James Polk on the organ. At this time, I would like to welcome a friend of mine to the stage who I know is a very, very close and dear friend to Scott Laningham. I believe the kids all called him Uncle. because he was truly family to Scott and his kids and lovely Elizabeth. So many gigs I heard Scott playing with this individual. He's a Austin Music Hall of Fame member, as well as the winner of multiple Austin Music Awards. He's hopefully soon going to be on the road again with the Tedeschi Trucks Band as their trumpeter. Please give a warm welcome for the great Ephraim Owens. Ephraim Owens on the trumpet, everyone. Ephraim's my brother too. We go way back, way back. We love Ephraim so much. And I know Scott loved him dearly. I know Ephraim loved him dearly. So we're going to do this one. Actually, we have another introduction to do because we had planned to get this drummer up on stage. Now, this guy I go way back to Texas State with back in the late 90s. He actually played on our most recent CD, and he's an incredible drummer. He plays with all kinds of groups around town, including my lovely wife, Amy Ashley, and Susanna, a great artist. So I want you to put your hands together on the drums. Mr. Kyle Thompson on the drums. Kyle Thompson, he's part of our family. Kyle Thompson. Jimmy McGriff. It's called Blue Juice. Blue Juice, Ephraim Owens. Ephraim Owens, Kyle Thompson on the drums. Give it up for Kyle Thompson on the drums. Mr. Kyle Thompson. We're going to bring Daniel Dufour back up. Thank you, brother. You sound lovely as always. Love Kyle. He's part of our family, Kyle Thompson. Back to the stage, Mr. Daniel Dufour. How you guys doing tonight, all right? Having a good time? A night for Scott Laningham. You know, we don't have enough time to tell all the funny stories about Scott. He had such a peculiar sense of humor. You know, it was very, he was just silly. He would laugh at anything, you know, and just because his laugh was so infectious, he would make you start laughing no matter what, every single time. One of the things I loved about him is he found humor in so many different types of things and situations, you know. Even just silly stuff, just silly stuff. He loved to laugh, and he had the most beautiful smile, didn't he? Just an amazing smile, lit up the room. And so I always call, and he was a drummer, right? So he had all his shit in tow, and it's like, hey man, you know, love, what's up? I was like, hey, it's your time to play, right? And then he'd flash that big grin at you and say, hey man. And you couldn't be mad at him anymore, man. You'd just be like, just take your time, man. You're fine. You're fine. We'll be fine. You know, because he was always running around. 8 kids, job. It's like, it was a miracle he made it to any gigs. But thank God he did, because we're all better for it. I promise you that. He is an amazing, amazing person. We love Scott so much. You know, this band will go on in his honor upstairs at the gallery every Monday night. We'll start back up again next week. We'd like to thank once again Steve Wertheimer and the whole crew here at the Continental Club and the gallery. Ephraim will be down there tomorrow night up at the gallery. Oh, you'll be down here tomorrow night? Oh, okay, cool. Ephraim Owens down here. What time? 10:30. Ephraim Owens. Yeah, the adult time. Come back and see us. But, you know, we don't know how, you know, the club survived. We just don't know how they did it with a lot of, you know, grit. And we're so thankful that they did. Thank you, Steve, and for everybody here for holding out. We really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you. Come back and support them, okay? Come back. Buy drinks. Pay the cover charge. Don't ask to get on the list. You know what I mean? Support live music. I mean, it's one of the things that makes Austin special, you know? I tell people all the time, they say, well, where should I go when I come to Austin? You got to go, first place you got to go is the Continental Club, see boys, upstairs at the gallery. And this place is, you know, kind of the heart and soul of Austin. So it goes, I'm going, you know, this place, you know, it's got to be here. So y'all come back and support, okay? We've got another very special guest out in the audience. And this man is the top call trombone player in the world. Many years with Wynton Marsalis and the Lincoln Center Jazz Orchestra, as well as many other greats like Roy Hargrove, Esperanza Spalding, Chick Corea. The list goes on and on. He makes his home here in Austin. I hope he's here. I saw him earlier. I want you to give it up on the trombone, the one and only Mr. Andre Hayward. Andre Hayward. Yes. Another part of our family, Church on Monday family. And while Andre's pulling out that trombone, we'd like to remind you again, we've got the guest book up here. Please come sign it. We've got the donation bucket if you want to make a donation. And then we've got the GoFundMe URL. So you can take a picture of that, go home later, contribute mightily. Please, we appreciate your contributions and your effort to the cause. So, Andre, come on up, brother. All right, Ladyfingers, Andre Hayward on the trombone. Ephraim Owens on the trumpet. Oh man, this has been so much fun tonight. We got one more song before we say goodnight. But we'd like to remind you we're starting up again next Monday night upstairs at the gallery. Please come back and join us. We'd love to see you. Thank you so much for coming out to honor our friend, brilliant musician, amazing man, Scott Laningham. One more time, give it up for Scott Laningham. We love you, Scott. We miss you, Scott. Thank you to the family for coming out, blessing us tonight. We've just had a great celebration in honor of our friend. We're going to do one more song before we say goodnight. If you wish, that'd be fine. Our friend Chris is going to pass the bucket. If you want to make a donation, it all goes to the family. That'd be amazing. So thank you, Chris. Don't forget about the GoFundMe and the guest book. Once again, the great Dr. James Polk on the organ. Give it up for Dr. James Polk. Daniel Dufour on the drums. Mr. Ryan Hagler on the double bass. The great Tommy Howard on guitar. Our special guest, dear friend Ephraim Owens on the trumpet right here tomorrow night. And the great Andre Hayward on the trombone. Yours truly, Elias Hasslinger on the saxophone. Church on Monday, every Monday at the gallery, 8:30 to 10. Once again, thank you to Steve Wertheimer and the Continental Club for hosting us tonight. We so appreciate you. Thank you for doing this for us. And for everybody at the Continental Club, Seaboys and Gallery family, we love you. Thank you. Thank you for keeping the flame alive and keeping, live music in our sights. It's finally here. Thank you. All right, here's one that we like to close the set with. It's by the great Horace Silver. Hopefully you'll be tapping your feet, clapping your hands, hooting and hollering. Do all of those things. They're all accepted. This is called Sister Sadie.
Thank you.
you, everyone. Have a wonderful night. Stick around. We got lots more great music. Monty Warden is here. Dale Watson. Sorry, not Monty Warden. Got my country stars mixed up. Dale Watson's here later. Thank you again. Andre Hayward on the trombone. Ephraim Owens on the trumpet. Give it up for Tommy Howard on the guitar. Ryan Hagler on the double bass. Mr. Daniel Dufour on the drums. The one, the only, the great Dr. James Polk on the organ. Yours truly, Elias Haslanger on the saxophone. Thanks you once again to the Continental Club Gallery for having us tonight. We'll see you next Monday night, 8:30 to 10. Have a great night. Thank you so much for coming. One more time.